You know that sinking feeling when you look at your bank account after payday and realize that somehow, despite earning a decent salary, you're still living paycheck to paycheck? Like you watch that direct deposit hit your account on Friday, and by the following Thursday, you're already calculating whether you have enough money left for gas to get to work. Maybe you've convinced yourself that you'll start saving next month when things calm down. Or maybe you're waiting for that raise or promotion to finally give you enough breathing room to put money aside. But here's something that might surprise you. The difference between people who build long-term, stable wealth and those who stay stuck in the paycheck-to-paycheck cycle isn't usually their income level. It's not about making six figures or landing some dream job with a massive salary. The real difference comes down to one simple habit that takes about 5 minutes to set up and can help positively shape your financial future without you even thinking about it. Behavioral psychology, and why some people seem to effortlessly accumulate wealth while others struggle to save even a few $100s despite making good money. If you've ever wondered how much of your paycheck you should actually be saving, and more importantly, how to make that saving happen automatically so you don't have to rely on willpower every single month, make sure to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if it ends up changing how you think about building wealth. Now, before we dive into the specific numbers that can make or break your financial future, let me paint you a picture of what most people do wrong. They approach saving like it's some kind of leftover strategy. They pay all their bills, buy groceries, maybe grab dinner out a few times, purchase whatever random stuff catches their eye during the week, and then if there's anything left over at the end of the month, they might throw it into a savings account. This backwards approach is exactly why the personal savings rate in America has plummeted from 32% during the pandemic to below 5% today. People aren't saving because they're treating it like an afterthought instead of a priority. They're hoping that somehow magically money will be left over after they've satisfied every other financial impulse and obligation. But successful savers do something completely different. They flip the entire process on its head and use what financial experts call the pay yourself first principle. Instead of saving what's left over, they save first and then live on what's left over. This might sound like a subtle difference, but it's actually the difference between building wealth and staying stuck financially. So, let's talk numbers. How much of your paycheck should you actually be setting aside? The most commonly cited rule is the 20% savings rate, which comes from the popular 50-30-20 budgeting strategy. This means 50% of your income goes toward needs like housing, utilities, and groceries. 30% goes toward wants like entertainment, dining out, and hobbies, and 20% goes directly into savings and investments before you even have a chance to spend it on anything else. 20% might sound like a lot, especially if you're currently saving 0% or maybe 1 or 2% of your income. But here's what's fascinating about this number. It's not arbitrary. Behavioral economists and financial researchers have found that people who consistently save 20% or more of their income reach financial milestones more efficiently than those who save smaller amounts. They build emergency funds quicker, accumulate down payments for homes sooner, and reach retirement savings goals decades ahead of their peers. But let's be realistic for a moment. If you're currently living paycheck to paycheck and barely scraping by, jumping straight to 20% might feel impossible. And that's okay, because the most important part isn't the exact percentage you start with. It's developing the habit of automated saving, regardless of the amount. If 20% feels overwhelming, start with 5%. If 5% still seems like too much, start with whatever you can manage, even if it's just $20 per paycheck. The key is establishing the automatic transfer so that saving happens without you having to think about it or make a conscious decision every 2 weeks. Here's something that will probably blow your mind. There are people making $40,000 per year who have more money saved than people making $80,000 per year. How is that possible? It's not because the lower earner is depriving themselves of basic necessities. It's because they automated their savings and learned to live comfortably on slightly less than their total income, while the higher earner never established that habit and increased their spending to match every raise they received. This brings us to something psychologists call lifestyle inflation, which is probably the biggest wealth killer that nobody talks about. Every time your income increases, whether it's from a raise, a promotion, or a new job, there's a natural tendency to increase your spending to match. You upgrade your apartment, buy a nicer car, start eating at more expensive restaurants, or justify purchasing things you previously considered too expensive. The problem with lifestyle inflation is that it completely eliminates the wealth-building potential of earning more money. You end up in the same financial position as before, just with more expensive bills. But people who automate their savings before lifestyle inflation kicks in get to enjoy the benefits of higher income while still building wealth at an accelerated pace. Let me give you a concrete example of how powerful this can be. Let's say you're currently making $50,000 per year and you set up an automatic transfer to save 10%, which is $5,000 annually. 2 years later, you get promoted and your salary increases to $60,000. Instead of increasing your spending by $10,000, you increase your savings rate to 15%, which is $9,000 per year. You're still living on more money than before because your take-home pay increased, but now you're saving almost twice as much. This is how people who seem to have average incomes end up with substantial wealth over time. They capture the benefits of income increases through higher savings rates instead of higher expenses. Now you might be wondering why automation is so crucial to this process. Why not just manually transfer money to savings every month? The answer has to do with how our brains are wired and something behavioral economists call decision fatigue. Every single day, you make thousands of small financial decisions. Should you buy the name brand cereal or the generic version? Can you afford to grab lunch today, or should you pack a sandwich? Is it worth paying for premium gas, or will regular be fine? Each of these micro decisions burns mental energy. And by the end of the day, you're exhausted from constantly calculating whether you can afford things. When saving requires a conscious decision every paycheck, it becomes just another item on your mental to-do list. And when you're tired, stressed, or dealing with unexpected expenses, that savings decision often gets postponed or skipped entirely. You tell yourself you'll catch up next month, but next month brings its own financial challenges and distractions. Automation eliminates this decision fatigue completely. When your savings happen automatically through direct deposit splitting or automatic transfers, you never have to choose between saving money and spending money, because the choice has already been made. The money disappears from your checking account before you even see it, which means you naturally adjust your spending habits to live on what remains. This is where the magic really happens. Most people assume that saving money requires constant sacrifice and deprivation. They imagine having to cut out everything they enjoy and live like monks just to put a few dollars aside. But automated savers discover something remarkable. They don't feel deprived at all because they never had the opportunity to spend that money in the first place. Human beings are incredibly adaptable. If your paycheck is $2,000 and $400 automatically goes into savings, you quickly learn to live comfortably on $1,600. It doesn't feel like a sacrifice because that $1,600 becomes your new normal. You make spending decisions based on what's actually available, not on what you theoretically earned. This psychological shift is huge because it means you can save substantial amounts of money without feeling like you're constantly fighting against your own desires and impulses. Think about what this means for your financial future. When you automate 20% of your income, something incredible starts happening around month 6 or 7. You stop thinking about that money entirely. It's like it never existed in the first place. Meanwhile, that automated savings is quietly building into something substantial in the background. Let's talk about what 20% actually looks like in real numbers, because I think a lot of people get scared by percentages without understanding the practical impact. If you're making $50,000 per year, 20% is about $830 per month. If you're making $40,000, it's roughly $670 monthly. These aren't small amounts, but they're also not so large that they make normal life impossible. Here's where most people make a critical error in their thinking. They look at these numbers and immediately start calculating all the things they'd have to give up. No more coffee shops, no more streaming subscriptions, no more dinners out with friends. But this scarcity mindset completely misses the point of automation. When you automate your savings, you don't give up everything you enjoy. You just become more intentional about your spending choices. Instead of mindlessly subscribing to 6 different streaming services, you pick the 2 you actually use. Instead of eating lunch out 5 days per week, maybe you pack lunch 3 days and eat out twice. These aren't dramatic lifestyle changes that make you miserable. They're small optimizations that happen naturally when you're working with a slightly smaller spending budget. And here's something that might surprise you about human psychology. Research shows that people who save automatically report higher levels of financial satisfaction than those who try to save manually, even when they're saving the exact same amounts. Why? Because automated savers never experience the internal conflict of choosing between immediate gratification and long-term goals. The decision gets made once, and then they get to enjoy their remaining income guilt-free. But let's address the elephant in the room. What if you genuinely can't afford to save 20% right now? Maybe you're dealing with student loan payments, high rent, medical debt, or you're supporting family members. Does that mean you're doomed to never build wealth? Absolutely not. The beautiful thing about automated saving is that it scales with your situation. If you can only manage 5% right now, set up that 5% to transfer automatically. If you can swing 10%, start there. The specific amount matters far less than establishing the habit and the system. Here's a strategy that works incredibly well for people who feel financially stretched. Start with whatever amount won't cause you to panic, even if it's just $25 per paycheck. Set up the automation and then live with that system for 3 months without changing anything else about your finances. After 3 months, you'll make an interesting discovery. You probably won't even notice that $25 is missing from your spending money. Your brain will have adapted to living on slightly less, and what initially felt like a sacrifice will feel completely normal. That's when you increase the automated transfer to $50 per paycheck. Repeat this process every few months, gradually increasing your automated savings until you reach a percentage that feels sustainable long term. Some people end up at 15%, others push all the way to 30% or whatever responsibly fits their personal situation. The exact number isn't what matters. What matters is that you're consistently and automatically building wealth without having to think about it. Now, let's talk about where this automated money should actually go, because not all savings accounts are created equal. If you're just starting out and you don't have any emergency fund, your first priority should be building what I call a financial buffer. This is money that sits in a regular savings account, easily accessible for unexpected expenses or opportunities. The bottom line is this: you can keep waiting for the perfect moment to start saving, or you can spend 5 minutes setting up automated transfers and let steady growth and consistency work in your favor over time. Whether you start with 5% or 20% doesn't matter nearly as much as starting today. Your future self is counting on the decision you make right now.